Before social learning theory, earlier psychologists focused on how behavior is learned through direct experience. In the 1890s, Ivan Pavlov introduced classical conditioning, showing that behavior could be learned through association. Later, in the early to mid 20th century, Skinner developed operant conditioning, where behavior is shaped through rewards and punishments. These theories established that behavior is learned, but they focused only on a direct experience. However, they were all observing the same core idea: people acquire behavior over time. The limitation is that they could not explain why people imitated actions they have never personally experienced. The issue became more noticeable in the 1930s during early media research, such as the Pain Fund studies, where audiences reported imitating behaviors seen in films. This led to the development of modeling theory, where it explains that people can learn behavior simply by observing others, especially through media. The behavior displayed becomes a model that individuals may adopt. This process is often subtle and not consciously planned, so the progression becomes clear. Behavior is learned through experience, then behavior is learned through observation. This shift sets the foundation for social learning theory.
Back in the 1960s, Albert Bandura developed social learning theory to explain how learning really happens through observation. He argued that earlier theories were too limited. They relied on only direct reinforcement, like rewards or punishments you experience yourself. Instead, Bandura proposed that we learn by watching others and understanding the consequences of their actions. Learning becomes indirect. People don't need to experience rewards or punishment themselves. They can simply observe what happens to the others and use that information to guide their own behaviors. If a behavior appears to produce positive outcome, like praise or success, it becomes more likely to be imitated. But on the other hand, if it appears to produce negative outcomes like criticism or failure, it may be avoided. This approach also avoids the problem of earlier theories being too circular, where behaviors was explained using internal motivations inferred from the same behavior. Instead, social learning theory focuses on observable processes. Let me break these down step by step. So, firstly, observing the behavior. This is attention. You notice someone performing an action, like a child watching a parent cook, or a teammate execute a perfect shot. Your brain locks onto that model's action, especially if they're distinctive, repeated, or emotionally charged. Then this leads to the second part, interpreting these outcomes. Here comes your retention and cognition. You store what you saw and analyze the results. Did the behavior lead to applause, a promotion, or just a slap on the wrist? You mentally connect the dots. Actions equals consequences, praise equals repeat, punishment equals avoid. And lastly, deciding whether or not to imitate. This is motivation and reproduction. You weigh if the payoff is worth it for you, then try replicating it if you have the skills and incentive to do so. A kid sees a bully get cheered and thinks, that works here, or skips it after seeing them getting detention. These steps make learning efficient and social. Constant observation in classrooms, workplaces, or social media turns us all into unwitting students of each other's success and flops. Let me give you a real world anchor. Bandura's famous Bobo doll experiment in 1961. Adults punched and kicked an inflatable clown doll while kids watched. Later, those same kids mimicked the aggression exactly, even yelling the same phrases. When left alone with their own Bobo doll, no direct reward needed. They just saw violence work without punishment. This proved observational learning isn't passive, it's powerful enough to shape aggression, habits, and even phobias. Fast forward to today, think about media influence. Kids see influencers unboxing gadgets or gaming pros dominating the gaming industry. Imitation spikes sales and skills building, but flip it. violent video games, or toxic TikTok trends, some mechanisms spread negativity fast. In education, teachers become models. A professor solves a problem live, students retain and reproduce. The takeaway? Curate your models wisely because in our own observation saturated world, we're all teaching and learning from each other every day.
New challenge on TikTok.
Devious licks.
Devious licks.
Devious licks.
Devious licks, okay? It's happening all over the country, and Central Arkansas is not immune. Kids are literally vandalizing and destroying school property and sharing that destruction on TikTok.
Oh my gosh.
The disturbing trend hitting schools across the country has officially hit home.
Why would they want to do that?
Cabot Public Schools shared these photos showing major damage and vandalism to some of their bathrooms, presumably all because of a TikTok trend encouraging students to participate in theft and vandalism of school property.
Oh my goodness, that's pathetic.
Some Cabot locals enjoying lunch at Cabot Cafe and Cake Corner were horrified.
These parents have given up their responsibility and their privilege of raising their children correctly.
And Cabot's not the only district on edge.
My initial reaction was not another one.
The Jacksonville North Pulaski School District has experienced a couple instances of vandalism and is encouraging parents to talk to their kids about the trend, especially since most of their school buildings are brand new.
And our community really invested in our scholars' education, and especially with the facilities.
The district has put some proactive steps in place,
Such as increased security and monitoring in the hallways, in the restrooms with our safety and security team.
and using this as a teachable moment for kids.
How did the devious lick start? It originated on September 1st, 2021 after a TikTok user posted a video showing a box of disposable masks that the user claimed to have stolen from a school. And with that, the video almost gained 400k views. What is vicarious reinforcement? It's a process whereby a person becomes more likely to engage in a particular behavior by observing another individual being reinforced for that behavior. So what happens when you see someone else get rewarded for a behavior? That motivates you to copy that behavior to get the same results as that person. What makes engagement likely to happen? In this case, it would be the TikTok fame. Social learning teaches us the 4 stages of it. For a behavior to be successfully imitated, an individual must go through these 4 important steps. The behavior displayed by someone acts as the model. They act in public or visible space. Second, behavior observed. You aren't just looking, you're encoding it. You are paying attention to the specific steps and storing them in your memory. Without this focus, the signal is just a background noise. 3. Outcomes evaluated. By the calculation. This is the vicarious part. You look at what happened to the model. Was the result positive? Was the result negative? You weight the value of the outcome against the effort to apply it for the behavior. Imitate it. The execution. If the evaluation was positive and you believe you have the skills to perform it, you will do it, whether better or as the person that you've studied have done it. The bottom line, the outcome evaluation is the most important filter. It is the difference between seeing someone do something stupid and thinking I'll never do that, versus seeing someone do something smart and thinking I need to try that. So how can this pattern be applied here? Devious lick came from one person stealing a box of masks. That behavior was displayed on the TikTok feed, therefore gaining popularity. Resulting in likes, views, and comments, receiving massive social media validation. To the outsiders, those who are observing this kind of behavior are studying it. They are seeing the steps. How can I do better to achieve the same goal? With this clout, it creates competition, further ideas, and FOMO for those who are deciding not to do it. Albert explained to us that behavior is complicated. It takes much more than just vicarious reinforcement and the 4 stages of social learning behavior to fully understand it. He also mentions 2 more: reciprocal demonetization and triadic reciprocal interaction. Demarcation is a core concept that the person is influenced by their environment and their personal factors. It describes how you and your world actually build each other. Bandora's big idea here is that you're not just a product of your environment, nor are you a totally free agent. Instead, it is a three-way street where the three specific factors are constantly influencing and being charged by one another. That three-way relationship explains the how, while you have the what for reciprocal demarcation. For the three-way specific factors, you have your personal factor, the influence, thoughts, beliefs, personality, and experiences. Your environmental factors, your surrounding, the people present, the physical space, and the social rules you're currently living in. And lastly, your behavior, what you actually do in a specific situation. Now, how that loop works, imagine a student was nervous about public speaking. That's the personal effect. His behavior tends to be nervous, he speaks quietly and avoids eye contact during his presentation. His environment, or his classmates sensing his lack of confidence, tend to start whispering and looking at their phones. The loop closes with them ignoring his presentation, which reinforces his personal factor, that I'm really bad at this. It makes his behavior even withdrawn in his next presentation. However, that loop can change if the environmental changes. If the teacher guides him by telling him he has great ideas, the student's personal factor may shift to maybe I can do this. This shift will likely change his behavior in the next presentation to be more confident, which in turn makes the environment respond even more positively. With that loop and the action and model definition we have looked over, we're now going to be applying it to these. Likewise, how did this trend spread around? Their environment shaped the person. The student walks into school or looks over their phone and sees successful videos of people vandalizing their school or other people's school. This influences their belief to shift. They no longer see vandalism as a crime. In fact, they see it as a way to get social status. That person shapes the behavior because of the personal factor shifting. They have high confidence, meaning they think they're smart enough to pull it. If not, they pull it off even better. This confidence drives the behavior. They go to the bathroom, unscrew a paper towel dispenser, steal a toilet, damage mirror, or do further to gain social status. This behavior shapes the environment. Once they post a video, the environment changes again. Digitally, the TikTok algorithm sees the engagement. TikTok pushes the trend to even more people. However, physically, the school principal sees the damage and the social log to bathrooms or installed cameras in that way. The student's behavior is literally rooted in the world around them. This constant cycle never stops spinning. It even took 14 to 16 days for a new, stricter environment to come into the loop. Cameras, locked doors, even Pinterest and TikTok banning the word devious licks. If you try to search it up now, you won't be able to find one. It changed the students' personal thoughts again. They might feel anxious or realize the fame isn't worth the risk, now that there's consequences, suspension, police, and such on. That change in thought leads to a new behavior. They stop the trend. We're all consequently changing each other.
Social learning theory provides a strong explanation for how behavior is learned through observation. It is really useful, but it is not perfect. One of its main limits is that it cannot fully explain why people react differently to the same situation. Even when people observe the same behavior, they don't always respond in the same way. This is because other factors influence decisions, not just observation. One important factor is personal experience. For example, two students see others cheating on an exam and getting good grades. One student might copy that behavior because it looks rewarding, but another has been punished before for cheating may avoid it completely. So even though both observed the same behavior, their past experiences led to different choices. And another factor is the social environment. People are influenced by expectations of those around them. For example, if someone grows up in a family where honesty is strongly valued, they are less likely to imitate dishonest behavior even if they see others benefit from it. Cultural values also shape behavior. For instance, in some cultures, showing respect to authority is really important. So if a young person see someone online being rude to a teacher or parent, they may not copy it, even if it's seen as standing up for themselves because it goes against their cultural values. But in another culture where individuality and self-expression are emphasized, that same behavior might be seen as acceptable or even encouraged. Another limitation is that the theory explains the process of learning, but not the exact result. It tells us what people observe, think, and decide, but it cannot always predict what decision they will make. For example, two people can watch the same influencer promoting a risky trend. Both understand the possible rewards and consequences, but one might participate while the other decides it is not worth the risk. This shows that observation alone is not enough to explain behavior. But despite these limitations, the theory is still very useful. It helps explain many real-world situations, especially in a time where media is a major part of our lives. Today, people are constantly exposed to influencers, celebrities, and online content creators. These individuals act as models, and their behavior can shape what others think is normal or desirable. This is especially important when it comes to younger audiences. Children and teenagers are more likely to be influenced because they are still developing their understanding of the world. At the same time, this theory can also be used in a positive way. For example, it can help promote healthy behaviors like exercising, studying, or helping others. When people see positive actions being rewarded, they are most likely to repeat them. So, social learning theory is not just about negative influence. It also shows how positive behavior can spread through observation. Looking at it from a bigger picture, we can see how ideas about learning have developed over time. In the 1890s, early theories focused only on direct experience. Later, modeling theory showed that people could learn by watching others. Then, in the 1960s, social learning theory combined these ideas and explained learning as both observation and understanding outcomes. This development shows a shift from simple learning to more complex thinking processes. It recognizes that people are not just reacting, they are also thinking and deciding. And in today's media-driven world, this is more relevant than ever. We're surrounded by examples of behavior every day, and these examples influence how we act, think, and make decisions. So even though social learning theory has some limitations, it's still an important way to understand human behavior. It explains how observation, thinking, and environment all come together to shape the way people learn. So in conclusion of everything, social learning theory helps us understand that learning is not only based on what we experience directly, but also on what we see others experience. And in a world where we constantly observe others, whether in real life, our environment, or online, this kind of learning continues to play a major role in our everyday lives.